Devon is about to roll the whole wheelchair off the stage, and Bubba's like, no, don't do that. That's crazy. So he grabs Mae, and then in the more iconic moment than the original, power bombs her off the stage through tables on the ground. With only 3 weeks to WrestleMania 2000, will The Rock make it? It's Tales from the Attitude Era.
I think we know he's going to make it.
Shh.
Oh, yeah. Spoiler alert.
It's Rob here as always. Rob Pasbani, joined with the former writer of WWE, Tommy Blacha. Tommy.
WWF, get the F out.
Get the F in for this.
Yes.
So, Tommy,
ooh, get the F in.
It's 3 weeks to WrestleMania, and at the start of the show, I was like, they got to get going here. They got to get the machine rolling. Like, no more time for dilly-dallying. 3 weeks, I feel, is when you really should have some, like, at least the top matches kind of known. Do you remember how you felt going into this? Are you feeling pressure? Like, what are you feeling right now in this timeline on March 13th, 2000?
The pressure was always so big all the time that there wasn't really like added pressure. It kind of was like, because you're just pulling it off. You're on the road, and then it's kind of like, oh yeah, WrestleMania in 3 weeks. Oh, okay. So that's where, you know what I mean? And really, oddly, in a weird, odd way, the WrestleMania, especially this one, people kind of looked like it got not so well received, but it wasn't that much different than just the stuff you're doing all the time.
I'm glad you said that, because I noticed that as well. Like, oh, this doesn't seem like a WrestleMania cycle. Yeah. It's just like any other pay-per-view cycle, you know. And to be fair, WrestleMania wasn't quite WrestleMania. like this, it was much less big a thing in 2000. Not that it wasn't a big thing. It was still the biggest event of the year. But it's not like this mega force it is now.
Right. Well, the phenomenon that was happening, if you got to remember 2000 from my perspective, when I even started there, it was like, holy smokes, SmackDown has started. And even then it was kind of like, are these pay-per-views going to keep going once a month? I mean, we're giving pretty much pay-per-view quality content, if you will, with Raw, and then SmackDown was added. Not, you know, and you're like, I think the market's like oversaturated. I don't know. And we were just like in this kind of cycle. So WrestleMania just became another one of the things, even though it was big. Arguably, it was a bigger thing the first couple, you know. And then this era kind of like segued into like, okay, we've settled into, there's cable TV shows, there's the network show, UPN or whatever, those SmackDown and Raw are hopping around, and there's one pay-per-view a month. That's the deal. And then so when like, oh, SummerSlam is obviously a bigger one, and WrestleMania is a bigger one, but it wasn't quite like this big thing. It just seemed like, oh, right, WrestleMania's in 3 weeks. That's like a bigger show, so we got to really like kind of start working on that. But the pressure was like, you couldn't really make the pressure any bigger. And you remember during all this was the XFL. You know, it was just like everything was like at full. It was like, you know, your foot's bent to the bottom of the accelerator and like, we got to speed up. Like, what do you mean? My foot's down all the way. It's SmackDown. It's 7 hours of programming a week. What, you know what I mean? It just was like, so there was no more pressure, really, if that makes sense.
That makes, and also, right, to your point, when you're doing like record numbers,
yeah,
it's like, it's going to do great no matter what. Right? You don't really have to spend extra time saying, oh, this is WrestleMania. It's a big deal. You know, like the show sells itself.
I agree. And it's been so peaking. And I think this WrestleMania may have been kind of a watershed moment of like, oh, that was the first thing was like, that was a little bump. That was a little anticlimactic, you know, wasn't it? For a WrestleMania. And then like, oh, things are maybe settling, and like, it was like watching a stock rise. Like how much is it starting to peak? Oh, maybe it's peaking here a little bit. So one might argue that this is the first watershed moment of this era peaking a bit.
Yeah.
In my
That's
opinion,
a good, yeah, you are almost at the high watermark. And to your point with WrestleMania 15 the year before was a bit of a stinker. It was universally kind of panned. It was a little all over the place. The event was more about who the special referee would be rather than the actual main event. If you remember,
right.
It was the battle of, is Mick Foley going to be the special ref or Big Show? Or so you're going into it. But with that said, you are like the cards are being positioned. The troops are being positioned into place.
Yes.
While you aren't officially announcing matches, there's plenty of active feuds going on, and you could announce a card tomorrow and it'll make sense.
Absolutely. And you have the ace in the pocket, of Vince McMahon coming back,
Yeah, this was a very eventful episode. Yeah, like I said, I was like, something has to happen this episode.
Right.
At the top of it, I was just like, all right, they're kind of a little bit spinning their wheels, and a lot happened this episode. So
yeah.
Let's get into it. So it's Raw March 13, 2000 in New Jersey. I'm guessing at I'm not sure if it was called the Continental Airlines Arena at the time, the Izot Center, the Meadowlands, as I like to call it.
It was either at one time it was Brendan Byrne Arena, wasn't it? Or was it Continental? I can't remember. I think it was one of those two. Was it ever Brendan Byrne Arena? I don't know.
I don't remember. But
if only we had a device to tell us, but yeah.
So you're in Jersey, you're in the New York tri-state area, back again. Which is great. 2 weeks ago, you were in the Garden. It's exactly what you were saying, where it's just like, why leave the Northeast? It's cheaper. Yes. It's going to sell out anyway. It's fine.
Yeah. Nassau, New Jersey. Oh, yeah, keep it all there. Fun for me. I lived in Manhattan. I loved it. It's like, ooh, that was great.
And it's a great crowd and a great show. Kicks off with Triple H and Stephanie coming down, and they don't even get to say a word, and Shane and Big Show interrupt them. An inverse of what happened last Monday on Raw, I noticed, because it was the opposite two came out and then got interrupted. Before they get to what Show will do to Triple H and Mania, says Shane, they want to celebrate the systematic destruction of The Rock on SmackDown last Thursday. They do a full recap of all the abuse he took. And like we mentioned, some days you need to get heat. That paved the way for this episode, I feel, for like the big comeback here. Triple H says The Rock could have moved on, gone after the European title, maybe lost some of those love handles and go after the light heavyweight title, which, by the way, what a rib to imply that The Rock has love handles. This is like the best shape he's in his life. So what happens since he doesn't want to, change course? He gets his ass kicked 3 times in one night, says Triple H. It's his own fault. You will know your role, and we will humiliate you into accepting it. Boo. And then Stephanie says, as far as WrestleMania, we'll give you what you want. The Rock will compete at WrestleMania, but not for the world title. He'll compete in a handicap match against the biggest tag team to ever enter the WWF, the Twin Towers. And I was like, wait a minute. Is Akeem the African Dream coming back?
Twin Towers? Is it what? Is it Spivey and The Undertaker? Who is it?
No, it's a duo of minis. One of them looks like Mr. Hughes, like a mini Mr. Hughes, the great Curtis Hughes, and the other kind of looks like Hornswoggle. I couldn't get if that was actually him, but a fun little bit. And this has your fingerprints all over it. Was this your idea?
No, I believe this just came out of somewhere. People always like to suggest it occasionally, and because Vince loves it. So I think it just, it really, like most things are like, how about there's a mystery thing or something, like, a couple of minis. Who knows? Mm-hmm. I bet if you did a deep dive and asked Gewurz and everyone, like a lot of things in this era, like, whose idea was that? That you couldn't even actually find out. So the machine's idea. But a lot of these things always have, it's almost like at SNL they would say, like, oh, if you're a writer and you wanted to get a bid on and you haven't had anything yet, put Lauren in it. And then so this is kind of like, oh, you want to get something approved from Vince, like put dog shit or minis in it. Oh, I love it. So
the people in the ring were loving it. They were having a great time, joking like, hopefully at WrestleMania you won't come up short. Yeah. Should it be a tuxedo match? No, these minis can't fit. They call them midgets. Can't fit in a tuxedo. How about an evening gown match? I know, a midget on a pole match. And that's when The Rock's music hit. And the crowd is so excited to see The Rock. Like, they did so much good heel work that it was like building and building, and then it exploded. Like, yes, thank you. We get The Rock. Like, The Rock shouldn't have to deal with this.
Well, it's so easy. Again, when everyone's over like that, and then it's all based on The Rock. Even all their like fumfering good heel work, sure, but it's cheap, and you could say it's cheap and shitty. But all they're doing is invoking The Rock, and so even by them like being smarmy assholes about it, he's so over that's bringing the heat. Otherwise it'd be just like, what are they doing? This is boring. But it's like, oh, they're trying to shit on The Rock. Hey, we don't like that, and then. Yeah, and it's weird when you're putting these segments together. Sometimes like I said, a lot of times, this era was so great, and it was, but it made it so much easier. It's like being a football coach and having Barry Sanders in the backyard and in the backfield, like, well, how about we hand it off to him?
Yeah,
good play, geniusly constructed play. You know what I mean? And then like, you're like this, that they fumfer around, and then The Rock comes out. Place explodes, and this whole opening segment is like a half hour of just bullshit. But it's huge, and everyone, like, when it ends, the first commercial, the crowd's salivating. Great work, It's a lot harder when shit's like dicey, but when it's like this, like, and The Rock comes out. Oh, good idea. So there you go.
Yeah. So he interrupts. The crowd is so excited to see him. Rock says, "Tonight the joke is over. He's done being embarrassed. You drove Mick Foley out of WWF, and tonight The Rock is giving you the opportunity to drive The Rock out of WWF." The heels are intrigued. They're listening. All right, what do you got? The Rock proposes if The Rock wins tonight, he goes to WrestleMania for the world title. He gets inserted into the world title match. And if he loses, you will never have to see The Rock in WWF again. He points out that he's only 27 years old here, which just blows my mind.
Right.
He's only 27 and just the biggest star in the world. Shane says if The Rock can pin or submit the Big Show, he can get what he wants. But he won't, so he'll lose. Rock says, I wasn't done. There's no interference. Oh, and I'm sorry. Shane makes it clear the only way The Rock could advance is if he wins by pinfall or submission. Rock says, well, I demand no interference. None of you could be at ringside. And if any of you do interfere, I win and I go to Mania. Triple H says he's an idiot, but he has a deal. Rock says the reason he's doing this is because he doesn't have Shane and Stephanie in his corner. No, The Rock has the people.
Good line.
To end the segment, the crowd is super behind him. And I really liked that, as a viewer, I want to say, I'm a smart mark. We've established this. Like, The Rock is winning, of course, clearly,
yeah.
I mean, if anything, it was like, how are they going to get The Rock back in this main event? But I like that the whole show, every interview that you did backstage, you would ask the other wrestlers who are in no way involved in this feud, hey, how do you feel about The Rock's chances tonight? It really made it seem like a bigger deal. And even though I was a smart mark, it did create this little moment of like, are they going to have The Rock lose?
Well, of course. And that's all you need is the 1%. You know what I mean? I'm 99% sure The Rock's going to win, but it is the shenanigans of pro wrestling, which is like science fiction. Spock died. We can bring him back later. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Well, people do.
WWE is the king of that. Yeah,
of course. And this is another time-honored thing. Remember, one of my favorites was, I think Dusty Rhodes lost some kind of loser leaves. Whatever, and he came back as the Midnight Rider. He came back in a mask, and he was like talking like Dusty Rhodes in a mask, and then it was funny because they'd be like, "Oh, who's this Midnight Rider?" And I can't remember who was freaking out, but like that's Dusty Rhodes, and it's like the mysterious Midnight Rider. So
I mean, even in this main event, you renege on a career-ending stipulation because in a week or two, Mick Foley's coming back.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so it's it's science fiction. They don't ever have to really die. So there you go.
After the break, Al Snow pitches a show to Steve Blackman. He says things are going so well. We need our own TV show. We need a spin-off TV show. Al Snow and Steve Blackman's Mystery Time Travel Show. I'd watch that. Where they fight crimes through time. He even comes up with a theme song to sing. Blackman says that's the dumbest idea he's ever heard, and he just walks off. All of a sudden, the same room that Al Snow came out of, a guy dressed as Lincoln comes out, and Al's like, he didn't like the idea. I'm sorry, man. Kind of show that Al was like so serious about this.
Yeah, this one has Gewurtz's fingerprints on it. He has kind of a Lincoln fetish. And also Lincoln was a big thing on Conan when he worked there. Lincoln was a punchline of a lot of things back then. I don't know why. Just loved to have Lincoln. The caricature of Lincoln. That's over now. Gen Z. Who's Lincoln?
Also, it's interesting. The Rock has to be on SNL later this week. This is March 13th. Rock's SNL is this Saturday. So do you... I guess you're in New York, though. Oh, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
So he didn't really have to do much. He could have been there in the afternoon and then just drove up, right?
I came out early and then went back. I remember. For
interesting.
This yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
next week you're in Chicago. I guess SmackDown's probably not too far away, right? It would have been. Let's see.
I didn't go to SmackDown.
Oh, okay. And the Rock was not on SmackDown either.
I can't.
Oh, that was at
remember.
Nassau Coliseum, so he could have made it too.
Yeah.
Very convenient.
Yes. No, I went right back in because they were, the SNL work week is like at night too, a lot generally for that. So I went back and kind of like double dip.
So you did that great. Long. I guess Tuesday's the writing session, so you had to be there for that, right? Tuesday night is big.
Well, I was there Monday, So I even was in contact before too. It's like kind of So it was all hands on deck. It was interesting.
We're gonna do that whole episode. We're gonna do SmackDown after this episode, and then we're gonna do the SNL. So we're in
nice.
In timeline order. I'm very excited to go through that SNL. And that makes me think that you must announce Foley then on SmackDown, since he was in the SNL. Like, you already had the main event set, I remember, at SNL. Like,
That's
Foley
right.
was a part of that. Yeah, so things move really quickly here this week.
Absolutely, yeah. It was one of those things where it was kind of amazing because I left Monday, like probably just went for the production meeting and stuff, and then went back to New York, started working at SNL. And then we'll talk about that, the problems that came up there. So all this stuff that was announced, it's like you were just away from the machine for 2 days. And like, I'm talking to Gordon. So what's going on? Oh, this and that. And it's like you're out of the loop for like 48 hours and like, fuck, who knows what the fuck's going to happen, or who's there, Vince is in the main event. What? Fuck, you just never know. So
after the break, we get the Hardys versus Head Cheese. This is playing off the singles wins that Steve Blackman got against both members of the Hardys. The idea being the Hardys are a tag team. They're not as good in singles competition, and Steve Blackman is the opposite. He's better in singles competition than in a tag team. Ultimately, the crowd was pretty quiet for the action. They didn't quite care about the match. Also, I'm sure they were probably so hyped up still from The Rock, probably getting their beers and stuff. Blackman does the jumping kick, his big finisher that he used to beat both Matt and Jeff the week prior, and almost hasn't won. But then Matt goes up to the opposite apron, goes up to the opposite rope, and tries to do a moonsault onto Blackman as he lands, and it was a little clunky. He missed, but he recovered right away, and being a pro, immediately put him in a roll up because I guess that was the finish, and stole a victory. It still looked fine. But it was interesting.
It won't make Botchamania, but it wasn't super solid. But
yeah, and it shows that Hardys still are a good tag team. Head Cheese aren't at the level of a tag team as the Hardys, so I like that. Backstage, Angle is once again chewing off the ear of another security guard who would rather be anywhere but there, listening to how great Angle is. We get a recap of what happened to Mae Young last week, and this absolutely deserved a recap. And Mark demands that Mae Young stay backstage at a monitor with Moolah there. Moolah's there now. And he says, do not come out, whatever you do. I need to take care of these two guys for what they did to you.
I love that Titantron. Then you'd even be, because, the audience would be not even feel cheated, just be like, you're just showing a replay. But with the Titantron, people are like, like... It's like, wow, you'd think maybe like, what, I'm here to watch video replays? Like, nope. It's all like, it all works. They're watching a big TV.
I do love that old Titantron too. Just that it's such a nostalgic moment for me.
Yeah, it's the best.
So we have the Dudleys versus Mark Henry in a handicap match. You would think, why would Mark Henry get this? That's how mad he is. He has to avenge his beautiful girlfriend, Mae.
Brought back by popular demand. Can't keep her down.
So I wanted to talk about this. So the Dudleys double team Mark Henry. Eventually, Since the Dudleys have such an advantage, Bubba leaves the ring and Devon faces Mark one-on-one, and Bubba ends up backstage where he finds Mae. Moolah is gone. Maybe she went to the bathroom. Moolah, and then Bubba brings her to ringside and is like threatening her, talking all this shit to her. They get back to ringside. He places her at ringside. He runs in the ring. They 3D Mark Henry, kind of make him look like a herb, but it's a 2-on-1. They give Mark Henry the 3D, and then they abandon the match. That's what happened. And then they drive Mae in the wheelchair up to the stage. Jim Ross, in one of his greatest calls ever, is just getting apoplectic. Like, this is an 80-year-old woman. Stop. Don't do this. No. And Devon is about to roll the whole wheelchair off the stage. And Bubba's like, no, don't do that. That's crazy. So he grabs Mae, and then in the more iconic moment than the original, power bombs her off the stage through tables on the ground. It looked great, and you can even see in one of the replays that Mae, after she does the bump, grabs Bubba's hand and like squeezes it, which is the indicator. Yeah. Oh, the Iggy's. That's what that's called? Yeah, that means like, I'm okay. Yeah. Keep working. Yeah. Don't worry about me. Which I had to go back and watch that again because like, what professionalism from her. Like, rather than being like, am I alive? Oh, like she's like, oh, I'm fine. I'm fine.
The Iggy.
Yeah.
Well, you need to do it, because then, like, what's funny is I heard I don't know how true that is. Someone said, like, Lons or something said, like, well, back in the day they used to like kind of say, like, give you an Iggy if you're hurt, like, tell me you're hurt, and then the ref can keep the person away. But usually it's like, give me the Iggy, I'm okay. Then you can start putting the boots to someone because they're not legitimately hurt. But I guess it was reversed back in the day. Someone was like dazed and they didn't give the Iggy. So like, oh, they didn't give the Iggy, so they're not hurt. And then some started kicking them, and they're like, oh no, they are hurt. They're so hurt they couldn't give the Iggy. And then they were like, no, we should. If they don't give an Iggy, they're hurt. If they give an Iggy, they're not hurt. Oh, that's better.
That makes
I don't know how
sense,
true. Yeah. So I guess back in the day, someone was all concussed and like, didn't give the Iggy, start kicking them. No, they're hurt. So
interesting. Now you just see anytime, like in a ladder match or something, anytime there's a big spot, a ref immediately rushes over to the person who took the bump to give the hand to get an Iggy or get some indication.
It's always a funny moment, because then when the ref knows that they're okay, then they get up and try to keep the person, stay away from him. No, I'm gonna start beating him. You know what I mean? It's not like, and everyone knows they're really hurt and all that kind of stuff. But then when are you gonna double swerve that? When are you gonna use that? Et cetera, et cetera. Everything's always,
You mentioned, I think you mentioned it on the show before, but I don't think you mentioned it last week, where you told Bubba he was going to be doing this, right?
Yeah.
Backstage.
Yeah. And he just hugged me.
He's like, thank you.
Yeah. And I just remember like something like, what do we do with this? And I don't know, it was one of those offhand remarks, like, maybe you can toss her with the wheelchair through there. It'd probably be easier and how much more dramatic. And then I just came up to him after the production meeting, and I just said, like, how'd you like to toss Mae Young through a table in her wheelchair? And then he just like, hug.
So yeah, like, it's interesting that you did this follow-up here, because you could have just moved on theoretically. Like, this is the first woman that Bubba attacked twice. He's a one and done. He's a one-night stand kind of guy. What made you decide to revisit the Mae thing?
Well, part of it was like the Mae thing. Like I said, I wanted the arc to go like, okay, if she's got to not be pregnant anymore, she should have a miscarriage, should be this heat. And like, no, it's the hand. And then I think just through grassroots people in the studio and wherever, and agents, what have you, telling Vince like, no, she's just so over. It's ridiculous. She's got to come back. So then it kind of just kept coming back. And then like part of it was also like talking about like, oh, when Bubba throws people through a table, he's got that trance, and they love it because they're just like, oh, we're just continuously getting heat, so this is great. And then there wasn't like a real pattern other than like, we can't push her away because she's just the whole thing is too over. So it was like, okay, how about now in a wheelchair through a table? Like, okay. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does. Well, I'm just thinking like this made the Dudleys' career. These two moments, like all of this stuff, like this is the apex of it right here. Like this is what fans remember of the Dudleys, I think.
Well, I like to look at it like this. You're stacking, right? And it just stacked higher because the Dudleys' career was made surely in ECW in many ways.
Sure.
A lot of people didn't know that. So they came over. Another thing was those first matches with the APA when they just got hammered, and then and this was more behind the scenes, and they were like, thank you very much. And then, because it was kind of like, okay, Russo's gone. These are ECW guys. Are they able to do this? And then that was a watershed moment that maybe like a lot of the public didn't know, but I saw where it was like, oh my God, they just got hammered with a 55-gallon drum by Ron Simmons. And then they just like, thank you very much. And then they got the seal of approval. So that became more of a behind the scenes foundational, like, oh, these guys are go-to guys. They can work. So, and then, that their foundation is stacked more, and then like, oh, they want some heat and they can be humorous. And then this business with, the trance, like, staring the tables, and it's like, and they can work in the ladder, and they're versatile. So it all kind of like, that's the way I look at it. It's like their foundation is solid and it's stacking higher. So little bit unfair to say this made them, and you know what I mean? So, but I hear what you're saying. Does that make sense?
Well, here's what I think. I don't want to I don't want to take away like the work that they obviously they made themselves. I just feel like this moment is a high watermark for them. And it's something, we've been talking about the audience's insatiable lust for tables that was born out of these segments and the TLC matches. But I was just like, after watching this today, I remember I went to a TNA taping in 2014, which would be now 14 years after this happened. Right. And the main draw of the TNA taping, which was at the Hammerstein Ballroom, at a time when TNA was like, trying to bounce back from whatever TV deal they lost or whatever. Right. The big draw that sold out the Hammerstein Ballroom was, is Bubba Ray Dudley, then known as Bully Ray, going to put the president of the company, Dixie Carter, through a table? And he did. And that was the big spot of the night. Yeah. And the crowd went so crazy. And me being a smart mark, I was just like, guys, isn't this a bit of a rehash? Like, hasn't this been done before? Well, yeah. I was a jaded fuck, but there's no denying they sold it out. The crowd wanted it. They gave the crowd what they want. And what they wanted was to see Bubba put a woman through a table.
There you go. Yeah. Well, it's like the Vince McMahon quote. Look, we're doing the same goddamn thing over and over. We just want to somehow make it seem different, Yeah. Right. Yeah. 14 years later, also, you got to look at like, oh, there was kids who didn't see it who were now like 17 or 18, like, and Pasbani's behind them pushing his glasses up. Actually, this was what? Here he is. Can't hear you, Pasbani. They did this before 14 years ago.
This is just she is not Mae Young. This is just a rehash.
Yeah. In fact, it was more devastating because that was an old woman and she was in a wheelchair. Whatever. But this is Dixie Carter, but she owns it. Well, I don't know.
I was just blown away. Like, the crowd was so hot for it. I was like, wow, they really want their lust.
Yeah. Also, East Coast, Dudleys.
Yeah. Oh, there was a lot. There was like
Thirst for Violence.
Nostalgia.
Yeah.
No. But I'm just saying, like, this, we've been saying these last few episodes, it's so crazy how every episode there is a iconic moment lately that gets replayed to this day, and it's, and you didn't know it at the time.
And even just thinking like that, was one of those things where I was thinking too, just like, oh my God, just the hilarious, like, that's something that transcends, that could be on a news clip of like, he's putting an old woman in a wheelchair through a table, which is like, but oddly, it's even safer in a way, probably, you know what I mean? There's more,
Right, this one looks safer than last week because it seemed like there was cushioning under the tables too.
Yeah, so. And then there's a wheelchair, and then, and they're good and everything, but it just the idea of it is just so hilarious. Like just,
I think also, just it was overindulgent. You already put her through a table. You're going to do it again?
Yeah. It was like, remember that cheeseburger? But now we're doing this. They're putting extra bacon and an egg and, and it's on a donut. What? It's fantastic.
Backstage, Mark is in the ambulance with Mae. Moolah doesn't want to get in the ambulance. She kind of turns away, and we're left to think, what's going on? Angle comes out. He has the microphone. He says rumors are going around last Monday on Raw that Jericho had Angle beat, but Angle was never in danger. And then Angle talks about Bob Backlund, what a legend he was. He's a true hero. And speaking of heroes, I'm in New Jersey, and Jersey is dying for a new hero. Bon Jovi doesn't count. So I have elected myself, Kurt Angle, your honorary home state hero. Jericho comes out and says he noticed that Angle is getting close to Backlund and wonders if there's a love connection. Gets a bit of a pop. Also calls Backlund an imbecile. And then Taz comes out and says, I want the match to be no DQ. So it's a 3-way for the, I believe, European title. And it's no disqualification. This is a very fun match. Everyone works hard. Everyone's there to have fun. Everyone lets the other person get their shit in. Taz locks in the Taz mission on Kurt Angle, and you knew what was happening here. Bob Backlund runs in. Taz drops the Taz mission on Backlund, on Angle, and then locks the Taz mission on Bob Backlund, which got a huge pop. Yeah. And I actually looked it up. The Taz mission is not the same as the crossface chicken wing. The difference is with the Taz mission, you do a half Nelson with the person's arm. And with the chicken wing, it's an overhook. You're almost doing like kind of a Kimura to the arm.
Oh.
So it's a variation of the
which is a variation of what?
The chicken wing is a variation of the Kata Hachime. Taz mission.
Why weren't you at the announce table?
Yeah, that's right. Move over. I just thought it was very interesting. Like I never thought about it until I saw them in the ring together about how similar the two moves are.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Backlund gets caught in the Taz mission, gets a huge pop. Angle breaks that up. Jericho catches Angle in the walls of Jericho. Backlund gets up, breaks that up. This is just a full-on schmaz at this point.
Right.
China runs down.
But at least it's a submission schmaz. Right.
And it's a no DQ, so this is within the rules.
It's a schmaz mission.
China runs down, and I'm like, okay, she's still involved with Jericho. I wasn't sure. And low blows Backlund. Taz tries to bring the European title in. As Taz gets to the apron, Jericho drop kicks Taz, so Taz drops the belt. I can't even speak now.
Taz drops
the belt. Angle picks up the belt, smacks Jericho with it. 1, 2, 3, steals the win. As far as non-clean finishes, this was a mess, but a organized mess. Everyone hit their spots. Everyone hit their cues. There was no point where you're just like, what? No one was lost. And it was executed perfectly. So
no, it goes to show you. No, you're exactly right. Because I thought about this. I even put it in my notes. It's like when things are like executed, sometimes it's like, oh, that's, sometimes you look at things in retrospect and like, well, that. It's almost again like, was that bad booking or what are they doing? Why are they doing that? When sometimes it's executed poorly and it gets convoluted, or it just seems like you're stacking a high spot on a high spot and it's just stacked and like, oh, whatever, and kickouts, it's done poorly. This could have been a huge just mess.
Yeah.
It could have so easily been, this could have been different. You could have been like, oh, being a clean finish smart mark, I was offended. And this was just a what was going on, but it was like crisp. So it's like, as long as it's like crisp, you're like, well, that was like a mess, but not really. It was just like you kind of had people at the end of your seats. Oh, what's going to happen? This or this or this, which always makes me mad sometimes when there's just like stacked kickouts. It's like,
yeah.
Oh, 2-count kick out after 2-count kick. It's like sometimes it builds, but for the most part, it's like, oh, I'm just getting, this was interesting. It worked great, I thought. Yeah.
One thing I hear about the false finishes nowadays is like when they trade finishers. And you just know, like, well, this guy kicked out of his finish.
Yeah.
So he has to kick out of his finish, too, to be even. And it's like, it's so obvious when it's a 2-count finish.
Yeah. And I agree. And sometimes I hate the then you zoom into the, like, my God, what could I possibly do to beat the person? It's like, well, they're still being beat and they're tired. Do it again. You know what I mean? The logic of, like, I tried that. That didn't work. Now I'm going to have to try. Well, it gets, I agree. It gets kind of like, oh, not that again.
Backstage, Kevin Kelly asks Ivory for a female perspective on The Rock's decision. She thinks The Rock should win. He knows how to represent the WWF, and if he loses his career. But you know who's going to be the real losers, she says? The fans.
Ooh. But it's like we said before, sometimes you're always looking for a theme as a through line, even if it's weak or it is. But this was like just a good thing to be like, ask everyone about The Rock, because it keeps them all engaged and doesn't make the show seem so piecemeal sometimes.
Yeah, no, I thought it was, great idea. It really brought the show together. A new remix of the DX theme premieres. Kind of feel like DX is really on its last legs here, especially with Billy got injured.
How dare you?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But the remix does freshen things up a little bit. We have DX versus Too Cool. And at one point, Scotty teases the worm. It's the first time the announcers spell out the word as he's jumping. Hey, everyone, look at this. W-O-R-M. It's the worm. And eventually, the crowd starts chanting it, too. So I think that's really cool. The ending sees Rikishi and Triple H in the ring. Keish gives Triple H the butt bump, like the face in the butt. And he's about to give him a bonsai drop, but X-Pac is on the apron, has the ring bell, knocks out Keish, and Triple H gets the pin. I didn't like this finish. I thought this was an unnecessary clean finish, non-clean finish, in the sense that, like, you could have had Scotty, Too Hottie, or Brian Christopher just eat a clean pin from Triple H. Like, you didn't. You could have saved the non-clean finish for another match.
Yeah,
easy for me to say. Easy for me to say.
Well, and also it's one of those things too where a lot of times matches are set up and it's not always like it's so fast paced that like not finishes are always given with matches. And I'm sure it was one of those things potentially where like, okay, we got this finish. Oh, you're using the belt. We can't use the belt. Let's use the ring belt. Oh yeah, that's a good, just went in there. And then ultimately you look at it. It doesn't help that another match was used with, a belt was used. And then this one was like, 2 hits in the clunk in the head. That kind of makes it dicier too. Maybe you wouldn't have felt like that if the other one had a clean finish, I don't know. But
right, that's exactly it. Like just save them for when it's like absolutely needed. That was my piece of constructive smart mark.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree.
Kane is walking towards the ring. He runs into The Rock. Kane wishes Rock good luck. It's Kane versus the Boss Man. I'm guessing you just had extra time or something. I don't know, because this is like they're not really feuding. I don't believe. And you just give Kane a clean win here, easy peasy. Boss Man tries to get the nightstick. Kane ducks, chokeslam. It's over. It's like a 3-minute match.
Just keeping Kane alive and also just a crowd pleaser. It's got its value.
That's true. It's a great pop, that intro. Backstage, Kevin Kelly's interviewing Godfather, asking him if he thinks The Rock is going to win or if he thinks that Big Show's going to win. And Godfather says he has to go with the speed, so he's picking The Rock. We actually haven't seen Godfather on the show in a little bit.
Sunday Night Heat.
Moolah's interviewed. She's asked how she's feeling. Moolah says, I don't feel a damn thing. I'm tired of this. Nobody would have heard of Mae Young if not for me. She embarrassed me showing her puppies around. She embarrassed the organization. I wouldn't mind if I never see her again.
Yep, right there you go. Oh,
Big
my
heel
goodness. Mae Young versus Moolah.
I was about to say, like, are we building to a Mae Young Moolah match? And by the way, I'm into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Essa Rios against Dean Malenko is next. And if this was a little longer, this would have been my work rate match of the night. In fact, just by default, it is. But these two work so well together. Again, like every week, I'm like, Dean Malenko was so good in this era. Like he's so great. He pulled out really cool stuff out of SA, worked really well with him. I started thinking again about what you were saying about how there were clearly some backstage issues with SA, because I thought it was way too soon to take the title off of him. Not that they're doing much with the light heavyweight championship, but at least it gave him something. But it doesn't happen. Guerrero gets on the apron. He tries to do a run-in. It looks like he's recovering pretty nicely from his elbow injury. It's been a few weeks now, and like he's in a different kind. He's like in a softer kind of cast, so he's almost cleared. So he tries to run in. SA blocks him. He falls to the ringside area. Lita goes for her Huracan Rana off the stairs, but Eddie Guerrero stops her. He catches her, and he power bombs her. And this looked brutal. He did not hold back.
Well, and she also has that way of folding her, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
she has that way of taking it, like
death.
yeah, she like it's like that flexible. It's just like she sells it, you know. It just looks like she's ragdolled. It's like, oh yeah, that's something about it.
It looked so good, and it was at that point that you knew, like, oh, this is over. And SA was on Dean Malenko's shoulders. He tried to roll him up, but Dean Malenko posted, stopped the roll up while he was on top, caught him in a pin. 1, 2, 3, as close to a clean finish as you're going to get, folks.
1,001 holds, not 1,000.
Well, is a pin a hold? Would you say a pin is a hold? I guess.
Well, yeah, sure. Small package is a
like
hold,
a clothesline.
isn't it?
Yeah, a small package is a hold. You're right.
Yeah, so there you go.
Like a clothesline is not a hold.
Clothesline is not a hold. It's a maneuver.
Yeah, armbar. That's a hold.
Yeah.
Backstage, Cherry is hiring the APA once more. And as she's leaving, Midian walks in with a bucket of beer. She's disgusted by him. We haven't seen Midian in a while. His new role is like the intern for the APA. APA in training, perhaps.
Yeah.
They complain the beer is hot. He says, sorry, I'll get colder ice, which popped me. I feel like this is just showing like you're always trying to find roles for everyone. I'm sure Midian was just hanging around catering backstage. You're like, man, how can we insert him into things?
I love him. Dennis Knight, you know, I thought he was like funny, a gamer, worked with everyone. Everyone loved him. And like, this is another one of those things that kind of suck because it like, it just went away for like whoever, Vince, whatever. I like that the APA had just, you know, an intern that they abused. And at some point, like, you know, what was going to happen, we don't know. But, you know, like a lot of things. Yeah,
I feel like it gives APA more credibility and makes them seem like a bigger deal that somebody wants to like be in their group.
Yeah. And he's funny to me. Dennis was always funny.
We see the New York Nets in the house. Jason Williams, totally forgot all about him.
Oh, yeah.
He was their star player. Oh, not the New York. This was the New Jersey Nets at the time.
New Jersey Nets.
Still in New Jersey.
Yeah, Jason Williams was a big, and I worked on a thing. He was around a lot with like, he was going to have I don't know if he was going to have a show, but like people at Comedy Central liked him, and like, Jason, his name was thrown a lot around with agents and stuff. Oh, Jason Williams, he can be funny. He got the gift of thing, and then people don't know, but the tragic he shot a limo driver at his house at a party accidentally. But I think
I totally forgot about this.
Yeah, that just put a kibosh on all his career stuff. Because I remember my manager stuff saying like, so it's Jason Williams guy. They're talking about him like he's got an agent. And he's like, you know, sports comedy crossover, like whatever. And boy, that just squashed that. Yeah, I think it was like as an accident. He was brandishing a shotgun at his party or something, and I think it was like negligent homicide. So I think he didn't go. You know, obviously, me and have gone to prison for a bit or something. I can't remember, but it was not good.
Not fresh.
Not a good piece of business. As
So we have Edge and Christian against the APA. APA still don't have merch. Funny enough. They're still wearing their like Hell's Spawn. I forget what the old Acolytes gimmick. And funny enough that Midian has a makeshift APA shirt, and he's more on brand than them.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, that's another thing of just the pace of wrestling. Even when you think of it, like acolyte. What is like the APA? And they're so independent. Like the word acolyte came from, it means like a believer or a disciple or a follower. So that doesn't even work, but it doesn't matter because they were like, whoa, the acolytes in the ministry of darkness. So they were the believers, and now they're just the acolytes, but they're on their own and they're independent. So they're acolytes protection agency. Like, but what acolyte means? They're like followers? No, they're anything but. They're never mind. APA, don't change it. Why? So it's one of those things about wrestling. Just like, there's a Swift left turn. Fuck it.
No, I'm into it. So it's Edge and Christian. They're out, and the She-Devil comes out as well. Lawler calls Mideon APA's own personal stooge. He's a lot less nice about it than I am. Mideon holds the ropes for them as they enter. He's really trying to fit in. I like it. I really, really like this.
Yeah.
Total bedlam to start, all four in the ring at the same time. It's a chaotic match. Mideon tries to get in the ring to interfere, but he gets speared. That gives Bradshaw an opening to give Edge the clothesline from hell. Edge eats another loss. The announcers make a point of saying even though Edge and Christian are the number one contenders for the tag team titles, they've been on a bit of a losing streak lately. Wouldn't this mean that now the Acolytes would be the number one contenders? Or no?
Well,
I guess they have the guaranteed match.
Yeah. Technically, nothing means anything ever anyways. There isn't an actual standings or ratings or what have you. All I remember is we were just, which I always liked, was talking about how it's subjective as to how much like pinfalls can hurt some teams. Some people we talked before, like, hey, remember Scott Hall and Kevin Nash? They ate like 1 million pinfalls and it didn't matter to them. So, other people will have a pinfall and, that really like puts them out of it. So we're always looking for like a way for a team to lose but still remain relevant and still have heat, And one of the things is like, man, sometimes a great team will go on a losing streak and they'll be like, what's up with that? How did that happen? So, and then kind of teasing like, are they going to split up? Is there going to be dissension? So it was kind of good with the, the whole Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian. It was always a good thing to have them like, yeah, let's have them lose in a while. If you make a point of it and you point it out and they're pissed at each other or what's happening, it still keeps them in the picture, still keeps them up, still keeps them relevant. And, that's always the trick. You got a 40-person roster and half of them have to lose. How do you keep, I'm always like happy as a booker or whatever, behind the scenes guy, being like, if we can get people still over and losing, that's great. You know what I mean? That's, you don't have that predicament. So that was the mindset of like doing this with Edge and Christian.
Makes sense. I mean, look, they're going to get super over anyway. They're about to win the tag team titles. So
right. Yeah. And that makes another like, when you go into a match, like, are they going to lose again? And are they going to like break up? Or, is it going to be the Edge versus Christian at some point, or they win? That was kind of a swerve. So,
and then a segment that no way in hell you can get away with doing today, which was you did a match at Newark Airport. This was very much pre 9/11. Yes. Earlier today, the posse was at the airport with with Albert trying to find Crash Holly, and they had a ref with them. And so they're at Newark Airport. They find him at the luggage check, or the luggage pickup area, I should say. And they attack him, and it's a melee. And I can't even imagine getting in after an 8-hour flight and walking in on a hardcore title match in the luggage area.
Yeah.
Pete Gas actually gets a pin. He gets a victory. He's the hardcore champion for maybe 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Crash grabs his scale, dunks Pete on the head, gets the pin back, finds his suitcase, and escapes into the luggage chute, which was so cute.
Yes.
This was great. This is peak hardcore title. I love it. How did he jump in the chute? Do you know? Were you?
No,
I
was not. I was not there. But everything was kind of like, some ideas for, was always like, you're like this laundromat, anything, and then somehow it was like airport. Someone said, they could, come down the luggage thing. Oh, okay, and then that was it. And so I think it was Pritchard just took the crew and figured it out. Like, whatever, and that's what was so fun about that era. Like I wasn't there. I had to split back to New York, but I'm sure they came back with the tape. Like, okay, let's see what happened. Oh, that's great. There you go. Take it to the truck, throw it on. It was fun. I'm sure it was done early that day, but always part of the fun thing I pitched too would be like someone wins the title for just like a second, and someone just gets bopped immediately. Oh, the titles didn't change hands. Oh, it changed. Even with the posse, like it could be a thing like they could all get it for 5 seconds each and then lose it again, shit like that. So
I thought this was so clever. Yeah, like it's so great because you're just like, oh shit, he lost it. No, I like this gimmick, but then boom. And also, if you want to be a smart mark, like, did Pete Gas agree to 24/7 rules? Like only Crash Harley. Like, who decides that the rule ends?
Yeah, well, he could bring that up later.
Yeah,
but like in the moment, it's like that's that is the Well, he obviously look. How follow the logic to this? I guess you could have had Crash be like, I make this decree, and then like Gene Tunney could have said, well, therefore, I'm going to draw up a document and we're going to take Crash's thing and it's fully implemented and sanctioned. We didn't have that part. There was no Gene Tunney. But
is Gene Jack Tunney's son? Is that it?
Oh, Jack Tunney.
He's the successor?
Did I say Gene Tunney?
Yes.
Who the fuck's Gene Tunney? Jack Tunney.
Jack Tunney, former kayfabe president of WWF.
Carl DeMarco drafted a document in Canada, head of WWF Canada.
Backstage, we have Headbangers interviewed asking who they think will win. And they're heels now, so they're riffing on The Rock losing. They think he's going to lose, and they said he can come back and carry their bags for them. Which, how dare they? Yeah. Val Venus is back after a sprained neck. Honestly, did not even notice Val Venus was gone. But okay, it's Val and Test against Benoit and Saturn. Test is still over, especially with the ladies. When he gets the hot tag, there is definitely a high-pitched pop.
Sure.
Test getting in the ring.
Well, Test, let's face it, like he's over just by virtue of walking into the room.
Yeah.
6'8", handsome.
Yeah, he passes the airport test.
Yeah. I was in, I think I may have told this story before, but maybe it was around somewhere in L.A., Stacy Keebler and Tess, I was eating at a sushi place, and they came in, said hi to him, and the sushi place, and like literally the entire restaurant like stopped. Just like, oh my God, that's the most handsome couple I've ever seen in my life. Just like Stacy Keebler and Tess. Yeah, it was just preposterous. Like in LA where it's like a little, it's a little harder to turn heads. Yeah, it was something to see.
So Test sets up a pump handle slam, his finisher. Eddie gets on the apron, tries to block. Test breaks up the pump handle, goes to knock Eddie off the apron, goes for another pump handle slam. This time he's thrown into the ropes. Eddie's there to hit him with his cast. Benoit gets the win.
Nice.
Dirty. But this one's fine. Whatever. This is like, all right, fine.
Clean finish smart mark has been beaten down.
Yeah. Well, now I'm trying a new thing of like, well, like with the ending to the DX match, I was like, well, I could suggest a better finish here. I don't really have a better finish to suggest here, so fine.
Right. Right.
Because it's like, sure, you don't want to beat Val Venus. He just came back, so you got to beat Test. You don't want to beat him cleanly. Sure, this is fine. And they're heels. It's time for the main event. And this was a very exciting Attitude Era main event style segment. This is
absolutely
Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Shane comes out first. He's wearing a tracksuit. The announcers are confused. They said, wait a minute, there's no interference allowed in this match. How could he be out here? Shane tells the ref to get the fuck out of here. Get out of the ring. Get out of the ring. Earl Hebner leaves the ring, and Shane reveals he's wearing a ref shirt. He's going to be the special guest referee.
Good swerve.
Yes. So Big Show comes out. Rock comes out. The story of the match is anytime Rock has the pin, Shane is either not counting or counting very slowly. giving Show plenty of time to kick out. And when Big Show is getting the pin, Shane is counting aggressively fast.
Yep.
So The Rock has to kick out. Eventually, Big Show inadvertently takes out Shane with a clothesline, turns around, walks into a spine buster, people's elbow, goes for the pin. There's no ref. I love the audience reaction of like, we need a ref.
Yeah. And this is also, again, I can't imagine when this kind of one-sided referee thing came about. I don't know, 50s, 40s.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Who knows?
Earl Hebner runs down. 1, 2, gets pulled out by Shane, clothesline. Shane gets in the ring, knocks out The Rock with a chair. All of a sudden, cut to backstage. A limo's pulling up. It's Vince McMahon!
Yeah.
Triple H and 70 see this backstage in their locker room. They drop everything. They run out. What are you doing here? Vince approaches Triple H, decks him with a punch. He's out of there. Then,
oh my God! It's making you. That's the excitement is making the acid reflux in Pasbani's thorax.
Triple H gets knocked out with the right hand. Vince comes out to ringside, decks Shane, grabs a chair, hits him with a chair. Takes the ref shirt off of Shane's back, symbolically puts it on himself. Show walks into another rock bottom. Vince counts. 1, 2, 3. Rock is going to WrestleMania.
Yeah,
now,
ridiculous.
As I say to you, it might sound a little corny, but the crowd ate this shit up. They loved it.
Well, how can you not? I mean, you put it on paper, fine. Vince comes back, it's this. But you got to remember, how many months has he been off TV?
Yes, it's December, so it's been like 4 months almost.
Yeah, that's huge. WrestleMania's coming up. You didn't want to do it like the week before. You want to be like, oh, suddenly there's a new, just a new dynamic. Just like that. The world's turned upside down. You got, what is he going to do? And it really took like a obvious either like The Rock was going to win and go to WrestleMania. Because even if he did, like, of course he was going to win. Or even worse, interference. Oh, and and this just like made it like an afterthought. Like, of course The Rock's going to WrestleMania, but Vince is back, and Vince counted him in, and oh my God, is Vince the babyface, and he's against, like all this rearranging stuff happened in like just a moment. It just made it so like weirdly brilliant because you're like, what's he gonna do? He's gonna do this. Whose side is he gonna be on? He's on The Rock. What? And he's going to WrestleMania. I'm losing my mind. Right? It was great.
It's everything the fans want. It's the complete opposite of the ending to SmackDown, where the heels are strong. Now it's like the faces or the face looks strong.
And I love when just some like a convoluted moment somehow like reorders stuff and weirdly, I don't want to say it makes sense, but it kind of does, where you're just like, at the end of it, you're not left with like, wait, what's happening now? It was like, oh, now these guys have to deal with this, and he's the boss, and he's back, but they still have power, and what about them two? And you know what I mean? It's like a lot of like just, intrigue. Very good.
So what was the conversation like backstage? Like, is this the week we bring Vince back? Is this the week? No, let's wait. And then like, okay, this is the week, guys.
Yeah, it was pretty much exactly that, and I think it was, there was a little thing about like, well, he should come back before WrestleMania, but not right before. So somewhere around this, and that would be good. And then last week was the all handicap heels rule match, and it was kind of like, okay, is this getting stale? Like, it was always thought like, can we bring Vince back? No, this is a good time, and just perfect timing, if you ask me.
I agree. Actually, I think you timed it perfectly. You got 2 weeks to go. It's interesting though. Now you're gonna like. So by this point, do you remember if you knew if Foley was going to be added into the mat? Like, how was that decided?
I had no idea, because this week, this is what crazy was crashing together, because then it was like, The Rock is going to be on SNL. And I'm like, oh, you need to like go deal with that. And then we'll do that whole show, because that was not only time consuming, there was a whole kind of conundrum there with like dealing with the wrestlers in SNL that like I was at ground zero for that. So I was like, huh? I don't know. I have no idea. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But the card for WrestleMania is taking shape. We have 3 more SmackDowns, 2 more Raws, and an SNL to get through.
And put it this way, too. It's always on the table, like, yeah, Foley should come back. What can he do physically? I don't know. Let's talk about it. And then we'll figure out something for him. But it was always in the cards, like, of course, it's WrestleMania. Everyone can come back, And there was always even like, can The Undertaker come back? Oh, he's not ready. Should he make a thing even though he's not ready? Like, would that be cheap? I don't know. Well, think of some things we could possibly do. Well, maybe he could do this, that, or that. No. That's just how it worked. There's like everything was always on the table about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't like, is he going to? It was like, give me 3 ways he can. Give me 3 things he can do without being in a match, So that was the thing to always remember, that there was like, for every 3 ideas that got through, there was fucking 12 that didn't, so.
Yeah, and Undertaker did end up going to Mania. I think he was doing signings that year. So he was around, but I guess you chose not to use him. And so, yeah, no, this is a really, really exciting moment. Like I said, every episode now, we land on a segment where I'm just like, my God, like, oh, this is, I remember this like to this day.
And so it's always great when you have, that was one thing I always like thought of, like, and it's so difficult. Like, how do you incorporate absence in? Because something that always built wrestlers was like when they jumped from, promotion to promotion, it was like, oh, look, this is a crazy fresh take, on, like Jericho's entrance was like, oh my God. So it was always like, well, how do you incorporate that sometimes, that absence when someone's hurt and come back, and because there's nothing more exciting than like, oh my God, it's them, they're back. But you can't really do it in terms of like, hey, just let this person have some time off. Well, that sucks for people resented and like, how come they're not working? And then they got to go to all the shows and whatever. So it's like, well, if it's an injury, and then sometimes they're like, oh, someone's going to get over more by being injured. You know what I mean? So it's like, I was always like, yeah, if you keep people alive when they're injured, it's a weird dynamic, because I always looked at it like as a positive. Like the more you can, keep someone alive in some way, if they're injured or they're never going to be able to come back or whatever, and then they're back, and we're thinking about that. It's like, oh, Billy Gunn, when is he going to be back? And that's, do you seed it with vignettes or whatever? But like this, you just knew, like, and Vince's music hit, it's just the place is gonna explode, and people are gonna be so excited. The fans would be like, Vince came back. What? He's been gone for months, so. Like, remember when Shane came back after years? You just knew in the back pocket that was like, it didn't matter what happened. Like, what happened? Well, I don't know. What match did he get involved with? I can't really remember, but just like, oh my God.
Well, I remember because they completely dropped the storyline they did. But yeah, but I see your point.
Yeah. It's exciting. It's always exciting.
Yeah. No. This episode is a win. Like, you can't. This was a great piece of business, as you say.
Yeah.
And it really shows, like, WrestleMania is like, it's almost here. Like, get ready. Like, the hype train is happening, and I'm sure a lot is going to happen on SmackDown, the next episode. And we hope you'll be with us, enjoying this ride on the road to WrestleMania. Of course, we'd love some feedback. Maybe after WrestleMania, we do a point to the sign.
We're pointing to WrestleMania.
After WrestleMania, maybe we're going to do another Q&A episode. So send us those questions.
Yeah.
TFTAttitudeEra@gmail.com is the email address. We're also on social media, TFTAttitudeEra.
Oh, you were saying that like a question, and then you change. Is the email address... You had some inflection problems there. Anyways.
Oh, my apologies. But that's our show.
On the road to WrestleMania.
To WrestleMania? We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Tales from the Attitude Era.
We'll see you next week.
All right, see you next week, folks, on Tales from the Attitude Era.